Ooh, man, oh man, oh man. As of present, you getting nothing but Drayton, 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 and more Drayton. And this is officially off the rim.
Ain't no way around it. Ain't no way around it. Cause I'm tryna ball out. Come on if you bout it. But you better keep up. I'm not slowing down. I swear they gon' see us. Ain't no way around it.
What up? We are back officially off the rim. We are no longer live, unfortunately. But with that being said, way more stuff can be added. The production side of things, while the live aspect of it isn't there, I'm gonna make sure that you guys are more than how do I say it? You guys will get the most bang for your buck in the prep slot. I will not hold you guys short. Nobody's gonna get less attention or anything's gonna change really in the show. If anything, I'm adding more to it because now I have more time to do it and way more preparation goes into it. But now let's get into that fast break. Right here, we got EJ Scola absolutely throwing it down in Southern California. I mean, they on Kobe court, and he representing for Kobe as he goes coast to coast with a jam. And I think he might be one of those sleeper prospects out there out west. I mean, I don't know how much a dunk is valued out there. I know, Lord knows, y'all don't play defense. But that's just my opinion. Now we got to give out our flowers. Special thank you to the one and only Devonta Millsaps. Absolute monster game. One of the first people that I think I've seen record a triple double. Really instrumental in Michigan State winning that game. I think sometimes when you're talking about in the college level how hard it is to get a triple double because your teammates sometimes aren't hitting their shots. Everybody's only playing a certain amount of minutes, and players are definitely more restricted to like a scheme or a style of play in college basketball. Shocker of the week. I mean, this is probably as big as a shock as we're ever going to see when it comes to shocker of the week. We got Renzo Bryant getting into a word war with Rick Blaze because Renzo at the end of the game definitely took a super, one more time, super ill-advised shot. Uh, I don't understand why that play was drawn up that way at Jackson State. Mo Williams, definitely a super questionable call right there. I don't know if he did it on purpose. I don't know if he did it on accident, but Renzo getting in his feelings about that is definitely a shocker because he
Come
was the
on
one who
now,
coined
dog.
the nickname "My Feelings."
Come on, man.
Now, y'all knew the oh my god moment was going to go to no other than Brian Vaughn. Like, come on. Like, how you missed the first class? You ain't even give it a chance. You failed before you started. That's failure to launch. You should never failure to launch. I don't know. Me personally, I understand that he was suspended and his coach was fairly upset. His teammates were fairly upset. His brother was fairly upset. Like you failed at literally the bare minimum. You could if you would have showed up and left early, I could have understood that. If you showed up and went to sleep, I could have understood that. If you showed up and was like not really participating and they trying to get on you for that, I could have understood that. But to miss the opening class, that's crazy work. Beyond nasty work.
Oh!
Now, if you're a prep player, this is what you're here for, to wrap it up. I mean, Showtime versus Bay Area, that game was an absolute barn burner. One of those games that I think when you talk about prep basketball in a nutshell, that's one of those games. A lot of untimely mistakes, a lot of good defense, a lot of bad defense, a lot of good offense, a lot of bad offense. But you can ultimately tell that these are players that are growing and trying to become better in who they are. Jarius Bradley was phenomenal. Emilio Torres kind of shot Chuck, but that's neither here nor there. Bay Area Breakers ultimately lost that one. Best Coast Ballers came to play, and you know what happens when it's a big blowout like this. Another BTA moment, belt to ass. And once that happens, pretty much nothing to say. Ali Cortez is doing Ali Cortez things. I think he's definitely an elite scorer and somebody to keep an eye on. Uh, APAC just isn't the same APAC that they were a couple seasons ago. Houston versus Bay Area Breakers. Now Houston just came out in another belt to ass scenario where Houston just pretty much dominated the Bay Area Breakers. There's really nothing I could say. There's a lot of to be desired from the Bay Area Breakers. I thought they were definitely gonna be one of the teams that played in the semis for this one. So it's always unfortunate to see things like that happen. You always want the home team to win their home tournament, but that ended up not being the case here. Continuing on a streak of dominance, the Best Coast Ballers absolutely obliterated the OGs, beating them boys by 22 points. And again, I don't know if like defense is something that people are alluding and not trying to do, or if it's just sometimes harder in this tournament style atmosphere to find your rhythm and believe in yourself enough to get yourself going. But ultimately, I'm not seeing a lot of teams that are capable of playing defense doing so. Showtime ultimately lost it. The Houston, no, the H Town Hoopers. I don't know why I was calling them Houston. They play in Houston, but uh, I think that team just kind of fell apart right there. I don't necessarily think that H Town took advantage. I think they just had a hard time adjusting. That six-man rotation it's one of those things that when it's on fire, it's on fire, it's burning up. But when it's cold and you need those additional players, somebody to come be a spark plug, there wasn't that. So ultimately, I think lack of depth is what hurt Showtime right there. I mean, not much really needs to be said right here. APAC's really not APAC anymore, and LeJorin Tompkins the third is another one of those like prolific scorers. Uh, I didn't know he had bounce like that. He definitely is way more bouncy than I was giving him credit for. He could definitely go and jump with some of the bigger guys of the league, and he finishes emphatically. He definitely is somebody to keep an eye on. And you know, Big Orange is always in attendance. I think this is probably the game that sealed everybody's fate in the tournament. H Town definitely showed the ability to come together as a unit in this game, but again, I don't know if H Town's offense is that dominant or the teams in this tournament just aren't really that stout on defense. I don't want to take away from H Town. They ultimately played great throughout the entire tournament, but the defense seems to be lacking. When you not to toot the East Coast horn, but when you think of teams like Gotham, like Philadelphia Elite, teams like that, they definitely play both ends of the floor, and I don't think that really was happening in this tournament. And this game's another just BTA. I mean, Showtime completely dominated. I mean, they got dominated. What am I saying? Uh, Best Coast Ballers, they're probably the best team in California, and I think that's a trend that's going to continuously go in their direction. When you think of how young their team is and how complete their team is and the guys that they have, they're just one of those teams that's just always going to be able to compete in that region. And lastly, we have the championship game. The broadcast did cut out for you people who were not at the stadium. You didn't get to see Azunda Mazaka's best Johnny Storm impersonation. For you guys who don't know who Johnny Storm is, that is in fact the Human Torch. He literally lit Best Coast Ballers up. And I'm not sure if it was tournament fatigue or whatever part played in it, but they just kind of seemed like they came in flat in that game. They started to storm back in the fourth quarter, but ultimately Azunda Mazaka, Almighty Soul, were just a little bit too much for them, and that ended up being their undoing. As Azunda Mazaka, of course, got tournament MVP as H Town's leading scorer. And if you think we were dipping after the wrap up, you dead wrong. But now we got to get into that rebound clip. This right here is Drake Johnson, a player that to me personifies two-way, and he does something that and Maestro will probably correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I was taught in basketball the best way to finish is off of 2 feet, and he does that often. When you see somebody go up strong and they're going up aggressive, it's usually off of 2 feet. guys that shoot off 2 feet, that finish off of 2 feet, are generally some of the more prolific scorers. And maybe all that athleticism that goes into him jumping off of 2 feet allows him to be the rebounder and defender that he is. I think he's another one of those more slept on players that people aren't really watching. And I feel like guys in prep got to do a better job of that. Like, these are guys that you're going to face for years, and some of these guys you're even going to be on the same team with if you do happen to go pro or have a long college career. But who do you guys feel like is slept on? Who do you guys feel like is not getting their shine? Hit us down below. And remember, SimWorld, the only place you can see the game, be the game. We out.
Ain't no way around it. Ain't no way around it. Cause I'm tryna ball out. Come on if you bout it. But you better keep up. I'm not slowing down. I swear they gon'